All right, it's been a while on my channel since we've talked about Star Wars and about movies in general. And so, some of you who have subscribed or have come across my discussions about Star Wars may have been wondering, what do I think about Solo, a Star Wars story? I don't. I haven't seen it, and so many people I can't tell you who know that for my entire lifetime I've been a huge Star Wars fan. Me and my entire family have asked me, "Are you going to go see it? Are you going to go see it?" Um, and look, has nothing to do with Ron Howard. It has nothing to do with any of the actors in the film. This is not about them. This is about what Disney has done to the Star Wars franchise. They um, have destroyed so much of the core Star Wars characters, the core themes within Star Wars, and even the Star Wars storytelling. I want to touch on this. I want to touch on this in this way, in this conversation, in this video. I had a friend of mine who's a huge, um, science fiction film buff and comic book superhero fan, and he was talking to me. We were both working on a project in May, and he said to me that Avengers Infinity War is the movie that Rian Johnson was trying to make in The Last Jedi. And it wasn't really sure how to take that because I hadn't seen Avengers Infinity War at the time we were having the conversation. My schedule was just too busy. And I had no intention of going to see Solo, a Star Wars story. But when I did go see Avengers Infinity War, I knew what it was that he was trying to say to me. Because in Avengers Infinity War, what you see the good guys working very hard to accomplish um, their mission and accomplish the goal, which they all fail to do. At the end of the film in Avengers Infinity War, despite all of their best efforts, the bad guy wins at the end of the film. And so you kind of see that play out. Avengers Infinity War was a lot of fun. Of course, it's in the theme, a very successful theme of how comic book movies have been made, that whole genre of Marvel films that have done such a great job in telling the stories about these comic book heroes that we've all known and loved for decades. And I think they've done a very good job. I think that in the relationship of these film genres, this is the problem. You see, my friend said something to me that stuck with me. Avengers Infinity War was the movie that Rian Johnson was trying to make with Star Wars, The Last Jedi. And I know what it was he was trying to say because I think, in some of the quotes about The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson said, well, this is about failure. The whole movie is about failure is a big theme. But the statement that my friend made stuck to me, and I think that this is a big part of the problem. I mean, if it's true, assuming that his statement was true, this was just his perspective on the two films. The problem, I think, on the level of someone like a Rian Johnson, or some of these upper echelon CEOs within the Disney film industry, that they were trying to make a Marvel film dressed up as Star Wars is, I think, a part of the problem here. I think there is a correlation here. Stick with me here if you will. I'm going to try to explain this. Because this has to do with people who are so disconnected from any of these genres that people like you and me love and enjoy and appreciate. These are just people who are trying to make money. Okay, this is their world. This is all about business decisions. It's all about statistics. It's all about who they're trying to target, who they're trying to sell to, and make money from. They're not personally, invested in how these things play out. They just want to make the money, right? And so if you think about it in these terms, it kind of makes sense that you have people who are now in charge of the Star Wars franchise who are looking over the fence at the green pastures of success after success after success in the Marvel movie industry, the films that Marvel has been pumping out about all these superheroes. And they're saying, look at the pattern. I mean, I don't know this. I'm not claiming to be a psychic or anything, but I could just imagine being in a boardroom meeting at some of these on this level, and you see these guys going, well, look over here at what they're doing. This is the model that Marvel has put forward for a decade or more. I don't know when the first. I'm not a movie critic here. I'm just a guy on YouTube, but when Marvel started producing these films and really started tying together all of these different characters into one comprehensive storyline, and they've been doing it for like a decade or maybe even more. And here's Disney over here, hey, we just sunk a bunch of money and we want to do the same thing that they're doing. We want to make a bunch of movies for at least a decade or more, indefinitely, as long as we can ride this horse. And they're having a lot of success. Maybe we need to cut and paste what they're doing into our Star Wars franchise, and boom, it'll be successful. But you see, that's exactly wrong. That's exactly what's wrong if that's what has happened on the CEO sort of corporate level thinking of the Disney franchise. Because you cannot cut and paste someone else's success into your life and all of their decisions and just sort of, well, I'm just going to do everything, that so-and-so does, and it's going to automatically make me as successful as them. Because you're not them, and your destiny is not theirs, and your life is not. It's like, imagine trying to do this on a personal level, like, well, I'm just going to do, everything that, whoever it is that you look up to in your life, I'm just going to make every decision that they make, and I'm going to have the same, set of experiences and the same level of success if I just imitate everything, that they do. Well, that wouldn't work because you're a different person and you have a different set of skills and abilities. And it's the same thing, on a corporate level. If you see, what would we have if, someone like, Starbucks looked over across the aisle at McDonald's and were like, hey, they're doing Happy Meals and these are very successful, and now Starbucks needs to create a Happy Meal with a toy in it for the kids. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have success just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean that you ought to copy it. There is something to be said for branding and for maintaining your true identity and understanding that a huge part of your success is directly attached to knowing who you are and embracing that. And I think what's, where I observed this as I was watching Avengers Infinity War, And something that is sort of it's kind of become sort of a cliche within, to me anyway, as a moviegoer, as a fan of the Marvel. And this is sort of a critique of their writing, but you know it's like every time you have a serious moment within Avengers Infinity War, it's undercut by some joke. Okay? And you can sort of get away with that a little bit more in comic book movies, because comic books are kind of like that. I mean, they have the superhero sort of cracking these sort of corny, cheesy jokes with it. It's sort of a throwback almost to the old Batman television series, where they would do stuff like that, and that was written into the comic books, and I know why they do it, and but still, I feel like as I was watching Avengers Infinity War, I was like, sometimes you just wanted to have a genuine, serious moment. But no, I started to expect it. I was expecting every time now that there was going to be a serious exchange between some characters, and every prediction came true. Every time you have a serious conversation, it's undercut by a joke. It's becoming cliche, and I really do hope that the Marvel writers do something about that, because it's so predictable now. But you started to see that being pulled into the writing of A Last Jedi. Every time you're having a serious moment or some of the humor, it was just so overdone. It was like they were trying to make a Marvel movie with the writing style and the humor, very self-aware kind of humor, and that's not who Star Wars is. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about that identity and the way that Star Wars films are told, and so I think this is a part of the problem. Now, I've talked in a lot of other videos about issues with breaking character, issues with undercutting character, just the massive problems that have arisen out of the making of The Last Jedi. But it made sense to me when I was watching the Avengers film why my friend said that. And anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I had so many friends, ask me if I was going to go see the Solo Star Wars film. And the answer is no, I haven't seen it. And it has nothing to do with Star Wars fatigue. It has nothing to do with that at all. Look, if as a fan of Star Wars, as one of, I guess, what someone might call a super fan of Star Wars, there would not be such a thing as Star Wars fatigue for those of us who have followed this storyline from square one and who have loved it. It has nothing to do with this made-up problem called Star Wars fatigue. It has nothing to do with Ron Howard as a director. It has nothing to do with any of the actors in Solo, A Star Wars Story, or their abilities or their performance or any of that. It has everything to do with Disney signing off on all of the massive issues in The Last Jedi, to the point where the fan base is willing to just not go and support Disney, the Disney franchise of Star Wars. Because look, we're starting to see this picture come together of the decisions that have been made up to this point. Look, you had Harrison Ford sign on to do this next film. You had Carrie Fisher. You had Mark Hamill. You had Peter Mayhew. You had all of the originals. Anthony Daniels. You had all of them in there who were there from day one, and you blew off their advice when there were concerns, raised about where the storyline was going now. You ignored it. You gave none of them a scene altogether. You brought none of them together. You killed off Han Solo right out of the gate. You didn't bring them together even for that. And even the setup that JJ gave us in The Force Awakens was completely disregarded by the time you got to the second film, in which you have all of these massive problems jam-packed into this film, to the point where people are like, you know what? You used these people who made Star Wars awesome. Why would we go now and continue to fund the telling of stories about someone we know is dead, and you never brought anybody together, and you completely disrespected Luke Skywalker, and you did what you did to Carrie Fisher, and it's just like, what have you done? You've completely mangled this franchise that could have been what Marvel is enjoying. If you, instead of trying to copy what has made Marvel great, and let people enjoy good Star Wars storytelling in the genre that has made Star Wars great. You don't need to change it to make it successful. It's been successful because of the way it's been told, because of the style of writing and the style of humor and the style of the storytelling and characters, the sort of innocent storytelling that's put forward, the major themes that have been woven through all of the Star Wars films. And you disregarded all those things and thought, hey, well, we can just cut and paste what makes Marvel successful, change up everything, break the characters, disregard everything, throw a bunch of political agenda stuff in there, and dress it up like Star Wars. It's not Star Wars anymore. And that's the problem. You've got people working on these films that either don't know how to tell Star Wars stories, or they don't care that we care. I like both. I like the Marvel movies. I like, the original Star Wars kind of films that were pumped out. I don't want to feel like every time I'm going to the movies, I'm seeing the same thing, but just dressed up differently. I'm hearing the same kind of humor. I'm hearing, you can't just cut and paste what makes one kind of storytelling good and throw it into something else. That's not why we went there. We wanted Star Wars storytelling. We wanted Luke Skywalker to be Luke Skywalker. We wanted all of that to happen, and you took all of that away, and now you're wondering why no one went out to see Solo. I'm telling you why. So, anyway, I just wanted to sort of weave together, I guess, what I got. I did not go see Solo, and I won't. I have no intention of it. My sister did go see it, and she was like, it was all right. I had other people tell me that it was good. Look, it's not the point. The point is that the franchise has just badly mangled the entire Star Wars universe, and that's a sad thing to see happen, especially for those of us who have loved it so dearly. But that's all I've got for this video. If you have any other thoughts, of course, feel free to leave your comments below.